I'm Leon Lovelace, and this is Unstoppable Force. Now, I got a news story for you, and it's about the Colin Kaepernick situation because I think it's not, well, week five's going on now, and they're going to finish up week five tonight. I don't remember who's playing tonight, but week five is going to end tonight, and then we're going to have week six starting up on Thursday night. And once again, another quarterback goes down injured, and it's my favorite quarterback right now, Aaron Rodgers, for my favorite team, the Packers. And my team only has two quarterbacks on the roster, him and Brett Hundley. So I watched Brett Hundley play for most of the game, and for backup that they don't really practice that much, he looked pretty good. He was making some really nice throws. Hit a lot of poise. He wasn't panicking. He wasn't just taking a whole bunch of sacks. He wasn't just checking the ball down all the time, because he's been on the team for a couple of years, so he knows the offense. So he's able to make some good reads and make some good throws down the field. Of course, he's a backup, and he doesn't practice that much. So he did make some bad throws, threw a couple picks, but he's probably going to be able to start until Aaron Rodgers comes back. But I think that Colin Kaepernick should be signed by my team, the Packers, as his backup. Because for the next, 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, he probably wouldn't be prepared enough to start for the Packers. But what he would be able to do is, I'm sure that after 2 or 3 weeks, Colin Kaepernick would be ready to be his backup, just in case Hundley got knocked out in one game and Colin Kaepernick just had to finish out one game just like Brett Hundley did yesterday. And of course, Colin Kaepernick, last year he did have a pretty good season. I looked at his stats and looked at some of the highlights for the games that he played. Yeah, his first 2 games last year, they were pretty bad. But after that, they were pretty good. He looked pretty good. He's making a lot of good throws, and it's just that 49 team was trash. So even though he played really good for most of those games, or at least he played okay, they still lost because that team is just awful. So it's just interesting to see that he played well and yet the team still did so bad, because normally that's not the case. So that's one of the big reasons why Colin Kaepernick at least should be a backup right now on one of the teams. But of course, it's obvious that the NFL, all those owners, all 31 of the 32 teams are run by white owners. So of course, if there's anything going on it's obvious that because he was protesting last year, and even last year, people stopped watching some of the games, so viewership was down. Because I didn't think that anything would knock the viewership down for the NFL, but it don't take too much. Just a black guy protesting against the suppression of black people. All of a sudden, people don't want to watch. So, yeah, I was definitely wrong about that. But he's definitely good enough to be a backup. He could start for at least like 2 or 3 teams, one being the Browns. He could definitely start for that team. But the fact is, he should have been signed. He's good enough to be signed for one of the teams that he hasn't, and it's all for political reasons. Because of course, a lot of those owners, they don't like the fact that Colin Kaepernick is protesting that black people need to be treated better in society and need to be treated better by the criminal justice system, especially the police. So even the Dolphins. So the Dolphins, they proved that the league was blackballing Colin Kaepernick, because Kaepernick should have been signed over Jay Cutler, because he's a better player than Jay is right now. So of course, a lot of the teams already proved that they were blackballing them. And if my Packers don't sign them, that's just be another piece of evidence, or another piece of circumstantial evidence that the league's blackballing Colin Kaepernick. And what also has come out is that Kaepernick has also filed a grievance against the league for coming together and organizing to not sign him. So that's interesting, but I think he's got quite a few circumstances that do point towards that's what the owners did, because one, the owners always meet sometime during the off season, and since it was hurting the revenues a little bit last season, of course that's very likely that the league, or at least the 32 owners, did talk about Colin Kaepernick and his protests hurting viewership and hurting the revenue and the profits that are coming into the league. So they very likely talked about it then, and now they're still, since even more players are protesting, viewership's still down. I haven't looked at too many articles that talked about it, but I am for certain that viewership is down from early 2016, or from the 2015 season, from before when there was any protests. And then I know at least one other player got cut because he was protesting against police brutality against black people, and that was Antonio Cromartie. He was on the Colts. I did read an article about how he was cut, and that was in the middle of the season. So that's one other set of circumstances that does help his case. Is one other player did get cut, and it's not that this is the first time over the season and a half that a player was released or didn't get signed because of this. So it does help that another player did. There could have been a few other players, but I didn't really read any other articles about that. And if a few other quarterbacks get hurt and they're out for significant amount of time, besides just Aaron Rodgers in the next couple weeks, that's just going to be more circumstantial evidence that's going to help show that, of course, the league and the owners don't want to sign him because he's going to keep protesting, or because he did protest. And then, of course, since viewership was down and revenue was likely down and profits were down last year because of him protesting, they also have a financial incentive to not sign him, because they're going to try to make sure he can't protest when he's on that big stage of the NFL and being on the NFL fields. So it's probably going to take a while for it to play out in the courts to see what happens, but it is positive that he's going after the league for them not signing him, because hopefully, because they could rule that teams can't organize to not sign players for certain reasons, like politics or something like that. So just cross your fingers and hope that the Packers or some other team signs them real soon. All right, so thanks for watching.